At Tata Company, corporate governance is embedded in the DNA of the Indian Hotels Company Limited. Its philosophy on good governance finds its roots in a rich legacy of ethical governance practices, many of which were in place even before they were mandated. The company identifies itself with a strong ethos of values and commitment, believing that profitability must go hand in hand with a sense of responsibility towards all stakeholders. Here to talk today about IHCL's key impacts, risks and opportunities is Mr Puneet Chhatwal, MD and CEO of the Indian Hotels Company Limited. Mr Chhatwal, welcome. Now, this year for your annual report, IHCL decided to adopt an integrated reporting strategy. Tell us why you chose this method for communicating with your stakeholders.
I think it's very important that we not only talk about financial goals, but also the non-financial parts of it. The world continues to evolve, and as the title suggests, an annual report cannot just be limited to one side of life, and that's just the financial performance. So the non-financial aspects of sustainability, of governance, of strategy are finding, more and more place in most of the companies' reporting, standards in terms of their strategy, in how they want to be perceived, and in terms of how the world is evolving at large. And you have to be a multi-dimensionally fit company than only be fit in one aspect of the business.
And in February 2018, IHCL launched its 5-year business strategy referred to as Aspiration 2022. It's a 3-pronged approach: reimagine, restructure, re-engineer. How is this progressing?
Well, the management has been very focused in walking the talk, and we have been consistently delivering for the last 6 quarters since we publicly announced the strategy. And we are very pleased that in reimagining our brandscape, as an example, we repositioned the Ginger brand. We migrated 20 of our properties which were into a different positioning back to the Taj brand, which they once were. We have launched a series of new brands from salons in, under the category of new and now, to announcing a partnership on doing microbreweries with AB InBev, to launching an Italian cuisine brand. So I think we have been able to reimagine our brandscape. And on the hotel side, really putting it under 4 clearly distinct brands which are very relevant for a heterogeneous market like India. So Taj being obviously our backbone, our absolute luxury brand, followed by Vivanta in upscale. Then we have a named collection called the Selections, and as I said, Ginger at the value proposition, which we call it as a lean luxe. Even one more brand which we launched, which is not a part of the hotel portfolio, but is the first of its kind in India in terms of homestays and plantation trails, called Ama, which means like coming home. And we have started quite well with almost 20 bungalows and coffee and tea plantations. So reimagining of the brandscape worked quite well. Then comes to re-engineering our margins. We have consistently grown our margins for 6 quarters in a row, and our aspiration was to increase margins by 800 basis points. So we are almost halfway there and 40% through in our journey of the 5-year plan also. And when it comes to the re-engineering of the margins, as I said, has been done. Reimagining of the brandscape has been done. Restructuring of the portfolio, we've been able to simplify some of our holdings, and the latest one was merging one of our flight kitchen business with the joint venture we have with SATS into Taj SATS and some other companies. So as we are the oldest operating company of the Tata Group, we have a lot of history of over almost 120 years since the company was formed, and is, It's always interesting to stop doing certain things, start doing certain things, and some of the companies that have served their purpose, it's time to kind of simplify that and keep the business model fit, lean, and profitable for the future.
And maximizing value creation is an essential business philosophy for IHCL. Can you talk us through 3 of your main capital trade-offs?
Well, I think the most important trade-off is how you balance a short-term performance and still look after the company's ambition, positioning, and its brand in the medium to long term. And in order to do that, you always have to have the right use of funds. What's your inflows and what is your outflows? What are you using those outflows for? How you're building your competitive advantage for a longer period, which basically comes through not only providing profitability, but building businesses and strengths and brands that cannot easily be copied by someone else. So that becomes your competitive advantage. That's very important. Second is scaling up your business. So as an example, we have been very focused on the growth of our portfolio. We said that we'll grow our portfolio by 50% over 5 years. And in the last, couple of years, we've signed more than 40 contracts, 40 new contracts to our pipeline. And that too based more on a fee-based business, which is not so asset heavy, so not investments into assets, but rather a service model. And last not least is bringing down the debt to equity or debt to EBITDA ratio. So our debt to EBITDA almost 3-4 years ago was at 6.45, today is below 2. So I think that's significant progress. And we have given the guidance in the market that we'll keep bringing down both the gross debt and the net debt.
And what are IHCL's international expansion plans?
Well, when we embarked on this journey, our focus in the first half of the journey, where we still have 6 to 10 months to go, was more on domestic. 85% of our business is still on the Indian subcontinent, and we wanted to, go way ahead so that, we have our competitive advantage of the scale. We are getting close to almost 200 hotels at the end of this aspiration alone on the Indian subcontinent. When it comes to international, we are very happy to have our property in London, both the St. James Court as well as the apartments at 51 Buckingham Gate. We are investing a lot of money in there, bringing in our exclusive Chambers Club to London, which will open in April. It's also present in Dubai, it's also present in Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, the cities in India. And at some point, we might even take Chambers to New York in our trophy asset out there. Then we are also adding Szechuan Chinese cuisine, so that should also open in another 4 to 6 months' time. When it comes to new projects, we are just about to open our second hotel in Dubai in Jumeirah Lake Towers. So the first one is in Business Bay. The third one will be coming at the Palm just before the Expo. And a fourth one is under development in the Deira waterfront. So that gives us 4 hotels in Dubai, which is interesting destination because of its proximity to India, because of the Indian diaspora, and because of the number of visitors that Dubai gets. Besides that, we have signed for a Vivanta branded property at London Heathrow. We are under development in the holy city of Makkah. And we are looking at now slowly but carefully expanding our footprint in certain key markets in Middle East or in Southeast Asia, and selective growth. We will start seeking selective growth opportunities, as I said, in 6 to 8 months from now, in what one would call the Western Europe or even within the provinces of UK.
Very impressive. So can you enlighten us on the hospitality market in general? How is this evolving, and how is IHCL leveraging growth within this market, in particular given your refreshed brand story?
Well, hospitality market, I'm a bit biased, so I think it's one of the most interesting businesses. But generally, I would say tourism as a whole. Tourism provides for almost 10% of global GDP and also for 10% of all jobs created in this world. And I am a firm believer that not only it creates jobs within its own sector, it has been proven by different studies that each job created in the tourism sector creates another 6 to 10 jobs in other sectors. So I think the world is becoming a smaller and smaller place. People would like to have new and different kinds of experiences, both at the luxury end and even people who are the backpackers. So there'll be more and more people traveling. Uh, as, a, as a nation, I think India is very well positioned to capture its own fair share of this demand. And I think within the next 10 years or so, our tourism arrivals from overseas will triple, and we will see maybe even a 5 times growth of domestic tourism within India as more and more Indians are likely to explore more and more destinations within India, especially we tend to underestimate on the spiritual and the religious sector, which is very strong and never has any crisis. There is no recession on the religious sector. So people who have to go for pilgrimage, they will always go, whether they're going to Rome or they're going to Mecca or they're going to all the religious sector sites on the Indian subcontinent or the Buddhist sector. So we are very well positioned, and I think we are poised for explosive growth in this segment in India.
Fantastic. Now, IHCL's Sustainable Development Goals focuses on 4 key areas. What are those 4 areas and why are they so important to you?
Well, one of the things is that when Jamshedji Tata formed the Tata Group, he said that society is not just an important stakeholder, rather the very purpose of the existence of any business. And so it's been in the DNA, as you said at the outset of the interview, of all our group companies, including Indian Hotels Company. And I think what we do is we look after our neighborhoods and we provide skilling in our neighborhoods through Tata Stripe programs, through our Golden Threshold programs, where we train people in the local communities so they are able to earn a livelihood. So that's in the neighborhood wherever we operate, wherever we have our palace properties, where we have our business hotels, is something which we do quite well. The second thing is providing livelihood. And this livelihood goes hand in hand with the neighborhood. The third is conserving heritage sites. So in the holy city of Banaras, we spend a lot of our CSR budget. We clean the streets around the gateway of India, which has been going on for several years now. We do a lot of contribution towards for example, even the Railway Museum in Delhi. So I think we've been very active on preservation of heritage and cultural sites. Then it comes to environmental sustainability. We just got rid of more than 2 million plastic straws. So that is getting away from single-use plastics. We came up with the first eco resort in the islands of Andaman and Nicobar. So it is in a place called Havelock with the pristine beaches. And we have been known for creating these kind of destinations for several decades now. It goes back to 5 decades when Goa was created with the first real luxury hotel which came from Taj. So, and then the next 100 followed with other brands, but we were the first ones. Or to go to the state of Kerala creating, what we had the slogan as God's own country given by the government. Something which is very unique to us is the Public Service Welfare Trust. So we have actually a trust since 11 years, which is called the Taj Public Service Welfare Trust. And this was formed after the terrorist attacks, 26/11, on the Mumbai Taj. And since then, we collect monies in this trust and support victims of terrorism. And anybody who suffered because of any terrorist activities, children, families, education, providing jobs, is something which is very unique. And we keep doing this and we keep collecting monies every year. And as I said, the trust is 11 years in its existence. So a lot of people may speak about getting rid of plastics. A lot of people may talk about conserving water, energy. But I think the industry is not very good at combating terrorism. The governments, the world has not found a way, but at least in whatever little way we can contribute, we are very happy and proud to contribute at least that the victims of terrorism are taken care of.
Absolutely. And finally, how do you see the hospitality market evolving in Southeast Asia in particular in the short, medium and long term?
All three, short, medium and long, all have a green check on it. So I see no reason, as I mentioned before, not just India, but whole of Southeast Asia to evolve as a tourism hub. Yeah. It's a nice area to explore. It's still very, very unexplored, and some of the destinations have become very popular and others will become more and more popular. And I think this whole East meeting West and West meeting East is going to take a long, stronger momentum than we have seen in the previous decades.
Mr. Chhatwal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.